This is the only advice you need with business success speaker, Matt Hyams. Today we're going to get into how to make a hybrid culture work for you and why a homeless tent city near your company might be the best thing that ever happened for your organization. All right, let's do this. The big question these days is whether to have a hybrid culture or a fully remote culture. Now, with a hybrid culture, here are some of the benefits. You get some people you may not want in the office because they're not positive influences, so you tell those people, stay home. You don't need to come in. Now, they may fight to come in. In my company, we have a lot of people right now who really want to come back to the office because they want to get back and have that separation between home and office. And we say to them, if we don't like them, don't be so quick to come in. Exercise your workplace flexibility. Go to another country if you need to. You don't need to come into the office. They say, no, I really do need to come into the office. I feel more productive coming into the office. We say, hey, we're a hybrid company, and that means you have to stay outside. So some people show up at the office. They may not be ready to come in. We don't need them there. We tell them to stay outside. We let some people come in, go to their office. Others we say, no, you got to stay outside for a certain portion. And we give them tents. We have a little homeless camp outside the office because they don't want to go home. They'd rather sleep in the tent in the parking lot. And frankly, that's been working for us. That's how we've been working out our hybrid culture, which is to say, look, if you want to come in, but it's not your time yet, then you got to sleep in the homeless camp outside in the parking lot because we're not letting everyone back in at once. You can't let the whole company back in at once because then everyone will get sick and die. Okay? And if everyone dies in your company, then you have no workforce and you've got no productivity. The number one productivity killer in any company is when all of your employees are dead. We let some people back in, and if people show up we aren't ready to let back in, we say, you can't come in here. And if they insist and that they can, we say, you can't. But you got to get them a tent, okay? You've got to pay for that tent as the employer, as the leader. That's leadership. Pay for the supplies. It's not their fault they can't go home again, because some of these people have told their spouses and their families, I'll be home at 6, and they have an alibi to keep up. They don't want to go home yet. So we say, okay, you can stay here until 6, but you're staying in the parking lot. And if you happen to have a lawn or some kind of park nearby, you can set them up there too. Now, there happens to be a park near our office building that actually does have a real homeless tent city. A lot of people who don't want to go home and we can't let them in, they need to be somewhere for 8 hours a day. They've started to set up their tents in that homeless tent city, and they started to sort of assimilate into that homeless society. And they found that they actually feel more comfortable with the homeless people than they do in their own life with their own families. And we've lost some good employees to the homeless lifestyle. And we allow that workplace flexibility. Make your own hours. Allow people to be homeless and live in a tent city if they want. Allow that flexibility. I say make your own hours. I don't need to be breathing down your neck every minute and watch what you're doing. If you want to live in a tent city with homeless people and get your work done, then it's no problem with me, okay? If you're more of a night owl and you get work done from 12 a.m. to 6 a.m., I don't care as long as it's good work. Now, some of the people who work in these tent cities, it's not good work because they don't have any Wi-Fi and they've let themselves go, to be perfectly honest. And their primary survival concerns have sort of taken over, things like food and shelter. And also people are looking for them because they haven't gone home since they came. It's been weeks now they've been living in this tent city and they've let themselves assimilate into the homeless lifestyle, and their spouses are wondering where they are. Their kids are saying, where's daddy? Where's mommy? Why aren't they coming home? Why do they want to live with the homeless people instead of us? And police are always raiding the camps, and they're telling these people, you have a family, you have to go home now. And even if they do, they return to Tent City the next day, and they say, this is my new home. This is my new family. And some of them, of course, are murdered because they're not prepared to live as a homeless person. The other homeless people take advantage of them sexually, and they rob them, and they often murder them, or they become drug addicts themselves because they can't resist the lure of the needle or the pipe or the bottle. And some people who are already alcoholics to begin with, they're like, this is great. I don't have anyone telling me I can't have another drink. These people want me to have another drink. That's what I've been looking for. So we've lost some good people to the homeless lifestyle. And we've also found that this workplace flexibility to live in a homeless tent city has worked for a lot of people. And that's why you need to create this hybrid culture, because everybody has different work styles. And the more you allow flexibility, the more you allow the hybrid, That's going to show you what works for each person. And it's going to show themselves what works for themselves and whether they even need to return home again. And that's how you build a positive remote culture, by giving people the freedom to be homeless, to allow them to exercise their addictions, because I don't want to be anyone's spouse or parent. If you need to have more alcohol to find your good ideas and to get that innovation going, then I say have that drink, have the pipe. Some of my best employees are crack addicts because when they get that lift, that's when some of their best ideas happen. Now, they're not great meeting participants because they're a little too hyped up to sit still in the chair, but they throw in their 2 cents, and their 2 cents is good. Another way we do the hybrid culture is we have a rotating office where we bring the office to the the employee's house. We do a rotating schedule where this week it's Emily's house, next week it's Hassan's house, and then it's Emily's house again, or it's John's house or Tom's, or it becomes Ronaldo's house the next week. We move it around. We move from Ronaldo's to Emily's to Hassan's to John's to Tom's, and we bring the office and we set up camp in someone's house. And that has really positive effects too, and negative effects, because we found that not everyone's house is good to set up an office in. And that's what we found out, but we didn't know. The only annoying thing is to have to transfer that printer to everyone's house, and carrying that printer from car to car and house to house, and then setting it up and trying to get the Wi-Fi working. We've had a lot of problems at setting up that printer in different locations. So frankly, it's better if you pick people who already have a printer. But some people complain, they've complained that you're using my printer too much. It wasn't meant for this kind of volume. And we say, I have to tell them, well, our printer died. At that point, when I started to get those complaints, it's because our printer had died. And we didn't have it anymore. It was in Ronaldo's car. And I had to tell them, look, it's in Ronaldo's car, and she's out today. She's in Tent City. And I can't get the printer back because a lot of the homeless people have started to misappropriate the printer for themselves. And, well, I don't know how to put this, but they've defecated inside the printer, and they've taken copies, Xerox paper copies of their feces, which they then turned into Rorschach pictures. And after they look at the pictures of their own feces, they've suddenly had psychological breakthroughs, which was an unforeseen positive upside of all this hybrid culture implementation. We didn't expect that homeless people would end up discovering who they really were and are, and where things went wrong in their childhood, by making Xerox copies of their own feces with our printer. But that did happen, and they've gotten their life back. And I have ended up hiring some of these homeless people who've had these psychological breakthroughs to replace the employees that went into Tent City and never came back. I did have to tell them once they came into the office, you can't keep doing this with the printer though, because it's a health hazard. And this you're ruining. No one else can make copies anymore. It's covered in your feces. And eventually they got the idea, and some of them didn't. We had to let those people go. So the point is that this could happen to you too. Okay, that's why you really have to keep a growth mindset, keep an open mind, have a beginner's mind, have a curious mind, because you never know where opportunity is going to strike. And that's it for this week's The Only Advice You Need: How to Create a Positive Hybrid Remote Working Culture with your company. Keep that open mind. Let people live in the tent city. Don't be anyone's daddy or parent or mommy. If they want to be homeless, be a drug addict, let them. If someone's defecating in your printer, don't say, oh, this is terrible. You never know where the next breakthrough happens or who your VP is. Could be that homeless guy covered in shit. All right, see you next week.